We got a call.
Okay.
Who is it?
We got Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Jeff.
Big surprise.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Good.
Are you listening?
Huh?
Were you listening to Paul about the gun thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
Well, I agree with pretty much, what you guys are saying.
All right, thanks for calling then, Jeff.
No. Send him his free gift.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but there is a point where I would ask where's the psychologist in this, because if you're a kid or a young adult, and for anybody for that matter, you should have a psychologist analyze you. Now, here's the thing: we're putting people in jail and in prisons for dope, but yet we let people like this out on the loose. Makes no sense.
For what are we putting people in jail for? Soap?
Dope, Tim.
Dope.
Dope.
I thought he said soap. I'm sorry.
Marijuana, Mary Jane, whatever you want to call it, but I'm not a big advocate of legalizing marijuana, but at this point, if you're going to bust people for marijuana, maybe it should be a minor offense. I mean, a very, very minor offense,
is.
like maybe a fine or something.
It is in most communities.
And then when you have criminals like this go on the loose, that makes no sense whatsoever. What do you guys think?
Tim, do you want to go first?
Well, it is decriminalized. I think we talked about that last week, that most villages now, if you get caught with a couple, I think they call them joints. Do they, Paul? You'd know.
I believe they call nowadays the terminology, and I'll confirm this with Nikki. It's blunt, isn't it, Nick? Okay,
they call it
blunt.
Blunts, and it rhymes with blunt.
No, they're different papers that you roll them in.
Wow.
Blunts?
Joints are papers.
I don't keep up with it.
I never even heard that before.
Okay, so blunt is what we used to call what people my age when I was younger used to call an Esmeralda, which is more like a cigar type of thing, and then a joint is just a small one, I guess. But regardless, so I'm sorry, I lost my train. What were you saying there about your thought on that, Tim? Because I have a real strong thought on it.
It has been decriminalized, and I think the state legislator today is bringing up the fact that decriminalizing it, and that guy in Washington, Holder, said that he's going to enforce the federal laws against marijuana in California. So I think that's a lot of stuff that is going on right now. I don't know. I think there's a lot worse things than smoking grass.
Okay,
I agree with Jeff.
Okay, I'm going to agree with Jeff and disagree with Jeff, but I want to go to something that you just said because I can go off on a tangent pretty easy.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one.
The Attorney General said he's going to enforce the federal laws in California.
California had a vote November 2nd to decriminalize marijuana, and the Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder, said that he was going to put heat on California if they did that.
Okay, so when Arizona put in laws in place to support the federal laws, he wasn't going to support that. But he was going to make California follow the federal... Boy, that sounds awful hypocritical, but we'll put that to the side.
Why don't you talk about the guy who just beat 249 charges, the terrorist? Did you hear about the guy?
Didn't he only get end up
one
being
charge
guilty with
guilty
one?
Of,
yeah, but it was one really good one, and it showed the American justice system worked. No, it didn't.
Yeah.
Goyevich actually his percentage is better. He beat 25 out of 26, and this guy beat 249 out of 250.
Yeah. Now
he's still going to be in prison.
But
in prison for like 20 years.
I want to go back to this marijuana thing, and you know what? I agree on this. If you're operating in a vacuum, Jeff, if you sit down today and you smoke a joint and you get high, is there really anything really terrible going on? No, if you're operating in a vacuum. But now let's take it out bigger and realize that without people buying it, there aren't people selling it. And Jeff, who sells drugs primarily?
Teenagers?
Well, the cartel.
The gangs, the cartels, all of that. My point is, there's a lot
CVS's, Walgreens.
There's a lot of violence that goes on, whether it's in Mexico, along the border, in communities that are all related to the drug, the use of illegal drugs. Now,
right.
I am one for making it legal, but I'm also talking about if we're going to make it legal, then as long as it is illegal, you shouldn't do it because you're part of that you're part of giving the reason that these gangs have to be shooting each other and hitting innocent bystanders. And mind you, I'm all for if gangbangers want to shoot each other, maybe we should send them to a shooting class so they could actually hit the stuff hit the stuff that they're aiming at. It's when they hit these innocent bystanders that really pisses me off. You want to shoot each other, have at it, but it's always innocent people who get hit as well. But moving back to it, maybe we do need to legalize it all and regulate it and take the violence out of it.
Put taxes.
Yeah,
tax it.
Everybody's had a good idea, and everybody's been talking about that for years. But here's my fear of it, okay? And again, I don't care one way or the other, except I'm afraid the youngins will, teens and maybe preteens will get a hold of it and start smoking pot and be like a DUI. We got enough DUIs floating around there. God knows. You read the paper every day, you find out there's at least a half a dozen or a dozen, on there at any given time. Now, I would ask, if we're going to do this, then we got to do the same thing we do with DUIs with pot, because
I think they already do.
Well, but at the same time, see, the extremities, it's going to lead from pot to coke to something else. And I know you guys will say, no, it doesn't, but quite frankly, I know it does, not from my own experience, but from my family's experience. I've watched my brother go through it. Now he's been sober for 20 years, but I watched him go through hell. I watched my friends go through hell, and every single one of them that got into pot ended up being a cokehead. Now,
well, what's wrong? Is this that you prefer Pepsi-Cola?
Yeah.
By the way,
are you a Dr. Pepper guy?
The Illinois House today just defeated a measure that would have allowed people to use marijuana for relief for chronic pain.
I'm looking at this legally, and I'm thinking, is it common sense? I mean, again, it goes back to this guy, who gets off like you guys are talking about. I mean, the legal profession has loopholes for everybody to wiggle out of. We all know it. There's people, that get arrested for things, and then the next thing you know, this happens. I had a friend of mine whose sister got killed, Stephen Bishop, who was a stalker. They did everything in their power to prevent him from doing it, and he still got through there. So you tell me how far the legal system, I think that it's broken down. I think there's just way too many things. Now, but at the same time, justice is blind, because you can only go so far as our rights, and otherwise you're trampling on them. So anyway, I'll get off. I'm starting to ramble.
Yeah, but you know what, Jeff, before you go, Nikki wanted to ask you a question. Nikki, jump on in there, hon.
Here, you got this?
Yeah.
She's going to grab my microphone.
Hi, Jeff. I just wanted to say you want it to be 100% legalized, right? Is that what you were saying?
No, I don't want it. Actually, I prefer not to. I think it's another addictive drug like alcohol is.
See, but the thing is, alcohol is a legal drug, basically. And then on top of that, I'm looking at it from my point of view here. I would like it to be decriminalized, but not legalized. Because as soon as you legalize it, then you're having the government take over everything and going ahead and taking more money, the same way that they did with the alcohol. For so long, they had alcohol banned, and then they brought it back, and when they said, oh, yeah, if we legalize alcohol, we're going to be able to save money and get taxes, put taxes on it and get so much money from it. But in reality, where's all that money going to? It's going straight into the pockets, and it's not going to any of the people. And I think that, for the most part, we should just decriminalize it, but not legalize it.
I agree with that.
So you're saying it's Nikki, if I'm understanding you right, it's not going. You're still going to get fined if you're caught with it. You get slapped on the wrist, but as far as actually going to jail,
no. There's a big difference between decriminalize and legalize.
I don't understand the difference.
Decriminalization is you can't get arrested for it, you can't get ticketed for it. As long as you're in your own home, basically, they'll allow it. But legalization is that it's legalized, and you don't get tickets, you don't get anything, and the government then has to step in and put taxes on it and take over that.
Okay.
So decriminalization is without the government, and legalization is basically them taking over.
Yeah, and I hope everyone understands my position about legalizing it has nothing to do with the drugs itself. I just believe that's how you curb violence and get rid of gangs, a source of revenue. So mine is legalizing drugs to me is an anti-violence sort of approach.
Well, who knows? I mean, look at alcohol does. Okay, now everybody. I don't want to say everybody. I guess a lot more people drink and that don't. And I mean, some really abuse the heck out of it. And it's all about they glorify going on spring break. I mean, I don't know how much. You know, if that's your thing, fine. I didn't get that carried away. When I was a kid, I did not drink and drive at the same time. I got drunk and
I didn't either because I was afraid to spill.
All right.
Don't spill that beer. You know, and
waste not, want not.
Alcohol abuse, spilling. Hey, Jeff, we're gonna let you go.
We gotta move on.
Thanks so much for calling, and we'll talk to you next week.
Maybe.
Okay,
thanks.
All right. So we covered a half hour of marijuana use.
How about we do a little bit of a sad moment? Leslie Nielsen passed away this week.
He was good.
The Naked Gun and Airplane and all that.
I liked him a lot. Yeah,
84 years old. Dave,
he was older.
I didn't know she died.
Well, what do you expect?
Come on, Dave.
Different?
For those who don't know,
she was a wonderful actress.
Dave is a comedian.
Headley.
I believe he does.
Lamar.
I believe he does. He's in he improvises an improvisational group. Man, it only took me about 10 tries. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so you do know who Leslie Nielsen is.
I do know Leslie Nielsen.
And you do think she's hot.
Oh man! I liked her on Facebook. Yeah.
He was very entertaining. I really enjoyed.
But yet,
all
the
his
worst
stuff.
movie he ever did, probably one of the worst movies, was the. Speaking of Hedley Lamar and Mel Brooks, did you ever see the Mel Brooks his Dracula?
Yeah.
Dead and Loving It.
I don't think I ever saw that.
Yeah,
one.
that was with Leslie
Nielsen. You didn't miss
Nielsen.
anything. It was not very good.
It was bad, huh?
He's made over 100 movies.
Yeah,
100 movies. Serious actor.
Yes.
Are we going to a break? What time is it?
It's 3:28.
Do we have a station identification? Identification. Oh, Senator Kirk. Wow, look at that.
Yeah. So we got a couple of local politicians that some things happen to.
You think you can get him on the show now? I mean, is it going to cost you $25,000?
I will make another effort. He let me introduce him in D.C. and since then he won't talk to me.
Who do you think is going to run against what's his name? Durbin?
Durkin? Well, I think that's something that we'll discuss after the break.
All right, let's come back then. We'll go to break and come back and talk.